I would like to see if you could change on basic notions of economics. And I mean the economics of energy. We are always scrimping and saving because our economics are based on scarcity rather than exuberance. But notice that the economics of nature are allegedly wasteful. They're based on exuberance. Many more seeds than are necessary for trees. Many more spermatozoa than are necessary for people. Many more stars than anybody could conceivably want. Galaxies galore. Nature is a vast celebration of energy. But if you complain about this and say, oh dear me, it's all running out, that means, you see, that you are looking for fulfillment in time. And you say, if there is not enough future, we won't get the golden goody we're looking for at the end of the line. See, there is that feeling. There is the great golden goody. And it's represented in religious art by the golden flower. This is everywhere.
What if we really realize it's all a gift? Even the problems, even the pain, even the car accidents, even the hurts, even the relationships that didn't work out, even the jobs or businesses that had challenges. What if we're even grateful for the fear that struck us because we at least felt fully? Or the faith that guided us beyond the fear. Keep going. Or the joy that's available any moment you're grateful. What if tears flow, but they're tears of grace? Just thankful for it all. What if inside your soul knew the truth from this day forward? And if you ever forgot, your soul speaks up and reminds you, life's not happening to you, baby. It's always been happening for you, and it still is, even now. Close your eyes just for a moment. Give thanks in whatever way is appropriate for you for this magnificent life full of all these feelings. Because, my dear friends, we've seen it, we've heard it, we've tasted it, we've smelled it, we've experienced it all, and yet there's so much more.
Now, to most people, the present moment almost doesn't exist, because what they're really interested in is the next moment, or the one after that. So they live always towards the future. They live towards the next moment. And unconsciously, they regard the next moment, the next point in the future that they need to get to, as more important than this moment. Not realizing that the future moment that they so desperately want to get to, wanting to get it out of the way as quickly as possible, needing to get to the end point, on a small scale, on a large scale. And so they don't recognize that the future has no existence except as a thought form. So when you always live towards the future, you live your life trapped in a conceptual reality of thought forms, which assumes a greater significance for you than the immediate reality of life, which is always now. Because your life consists entirely of the present moment. If you truly realize the significance of that statement, your entire life consists of the present moment. Your life is never not this moment. Even when you remember the past, you can only remember it now. And when you think about the future, you can only think about it now.
Your present or past results have absolutely nothing to do with what's going to happen from this point forward. Now, that was the point that Ray Stanford drilled into my head. You see, I kept thinking, well, gee, I'm such a mess up. You know, I've done everything wrong up till now. I'm 26, I'm broke, I'm not happy. Everything was wrong. He said, Bob, that's all in the past. He said, every moment is a new moment.
Being is not only beyond, but also deep within every form as its innermost invisible and indestructible essence. This means that it is accessible to you now as your own deepest self, your true nature. But don't seek to grasp it with your mind. Don't try to understand it. You can know it only when the mind is still, when you are present, when your attention is fully and intensely in the now. Being can be felt, but it can never be understood mentally. To regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment. The word enlightenment conjures up the idea of some superhuman accomplishment, and the ego likes to keep it that way, but it is simply your natural state of felt oneness with being. It is a state of connectedness with something immeasurable and indestructible, something that, almost paradoxically, is essentially you and yet is much greater than you. It is finding your true nature beyond name and form. The inability to feel this connectedness gives rise to the illusion of separation from yourself and from the world around you. You then perceive yourself, consciously or unconsciously, as an isolated fragment. Fear arises, and conflicts within and without become the norm. The greatest obstacle to experiencing the reality of your connectedness is identification with your mind, which causes thought to become compulsive. Not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction, but we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it, so it is considered normal. This incessant mental noise prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. It also creates a false, mind-made self that casts a shadow of fear and suffering. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that blocks all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman, between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. To put it more accurately, it is not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is the disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. It's almost as if you were possessed without knowing it, and so you take the possessing entity to be yourself. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought, that thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken.
All you have to do is ask yourself, what am I aware of right now? And then favor the awareness instead of the experience, because the experience is a projection of the mind. Awareness is independent. Awareness is infinite possibilities. It's limitless. It's beyond imagination. It's infinite. It's the real you that recycles as body-mind. People talk about reincarnation, but reincarnation is happening every second. Every thought that you have is a reincarnated thought. Every perception that you have is actually a recycled perception. We just get bamboozled as soon as we're given a name. So, I was given a name, Deepak Chopra. Now, that is a symbol of who I am. It's not who I am. But, if you repeat somebody's name enough, you're David, you're David, you're David, then the poor kid is screwed because he thinks he's David, when in fact he's the infinite being with a name called David. So, you're not your name. Your name is a symbol of who you are. If I'm looking at a menu in a book, and all these beautiful dishes are there, I can't eat the menu, okay? So we use words as symbols, and of course, spiritual literature says, first there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God, became the Word, or whatever. There's some truth in that. As soon as you use words, you create form. So if I asked you, what is this? You'd say it's a book. But actually it's a color. It's a shape. It's a form. If a baby was looking at this book, it would be squiggles, shapes, forms, and colors. No idea that this is a book and the baby is called David. No idea. It's a joyful experience because the baby would see this and everything else as itself and would fall, in fact, is in love with existence. All you have to look at is a baby. The only time it says, is when it's hungry or it's wet. Otherwise, it's in bliss. And why is it in bliss? Because it hasn't been bamboozled by constructs. If people could understand the magnificence of who they are, that their fundamental state is bliss and joy and awareness and existence, which is timeless. See, the body is in time, the mind is in time, every thought is in time, every perception is in time, every image you have in your mind is in time, except you, the one that's awareness. So once you get to that, this is what is called the spiritual experience. It's also actually the original religious experience. Whether it's Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha, it doesn't matter. The religious experience is just three things. First, you know yourself beyond body and mind. Second, you have the emergence of Platonic truth, which is goodness, harmony, peace, empathy, compassion, love, kindness, joy. And the third religious experience, not religion, I'm not talking about religious dogma, religious experience, loss of the fear of death. If you have those three things, you know your true self, you have the emergence of what we call Platonic values, truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, and you lose the fear of death. What left? You're free.
Putting things off is the biggest waste of life. It snatches away each day as it comes and denies us the present by promising the future. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately.
Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. and on freeing yourself from all other distractions? Yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, and stop being aimless, stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. The first step, don't be anxious. The second step, concentrate on what you have to do. Fix your eyes on it. Remind yourself that your task is to be a good human being. Then do it without hesitation.